Long before CGI, before we even had green screens, how did Hollywood build these impossible worlds? Well, we're going to go back to the Golden Age to uncover one of the most ingenious and often totally invisible special effects ever created. This is the story of how entire kingdoms were brought to life with, believe it or not, just a sheet of glass and a painter's very steady hand. Okay, just look at a shot like this one. You've got this sprawling, epic city. It looks totally impossible to build, right? Especially back then, in an era way before digital effects. So how in the world did they pull it off? I mean, it really does feel like magic. But what it actually was this incredible mix of pure art and, well, a little bit of physics.
All right, let's paint a picture here. It's the 1930s. You're a director with these huge, grand visions for your movie. But the studio backlots are, not that big, and the budgets are always tight. They needed a way to dream way bigger than their physical walls would let them. And you know what they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. And boy, was this solution inventive.
And here's the fundamental problem they were facing. Imagine you're on set. The script calls for this, incredible Himalayan monastery or a huge futuristic city. But what you actually have to work with is a couple of wooden crates and a patch of dirt. So what do? How do you create that epic grand scale? How do you solve that problem?
Well, the solution was surprisingly elegant and pretty low-tech, actually. It was a trick that didn't rely on some big, fancy machine, but on pure, raw human artistry. This was the world of the matte painter, and their secret weapon? It was something called the glass shot.
So, the key thing to get here is that this all happened in the camera. This wasn't something they fixed later in post-production. Nope. An artist would literally paint the missing part of the world onto a big sheet of glass. And then the camera would photograph the painting and the live-action set at the exact same time, merging them into one single, seamless shot.
Okay, let's walk through how this works, because the genius is really in how simple it is. Step 1. You take a huge pane of glass and you stick it right between the camera and the set. Step 2, an artist comes in and meticulously paints whatever's missing, maybe it's the towering spires of a castle or a really dramatic sky, right onto that glass. Now here's the clever part. Step 3, they leave a clear, unpainted spot, like a window, that lines up perfectly with where the actors are going to be on the set. And finally, when you look through the camera's lens, boom, the illusion is complete. The painting and reality just merge. This really shows you how it all came together. You've got two different worlds. On the glass, you have the painting. That's your epic scale. That's the stuff you just can't afford to build. Then on the set, you have reality. The actors, the props, the little piece of the scene you did build. The glass shot is basically the magic bridge that connects these two worlds so perfectly you can't see the seam. And I mean, you have to understand, this wasn't just some clever technical trick. This was high art. Seriously, guys like Norman Don, one of the pioneers, were so good at this that their work was totally invisible. The whole point was that you, the audience, would have no idea that the huge cathedral you were looking at was only part real wood, and the rest was just oil paint on a pane of glass sitting a few feet from the camera. And let me tell you, pulling off this perfect illusion was insanely difficult. For one, the artist had to be a total master of perspective. They also had to match the lighting on their painting exactly to the real-world light hitting the actors on set. And then, get this, once Technicolor came along, they had to become masters of color, too, making sure their painted blue sky was the exact same shade as the little sliver of real sky peeking through. Absolute painstaking precision was the name of the game. And the results? I mean, they were just breathtaking. We're not talking about some technique used for B-movies here, no way. This was front and center in some of the most iconic, most visually stunning films ever made. These are the absolute masterpieces that were built, quite literally, on a simple pane of glass. Just think about it for a second. That sprawling, iconic plantation, Tara, and Gone with the Wind? Yep, glass shot. The absolutely stunning cliffside monastery in Black Narcissus? That was a painting. Even the famous London rooftops Mary Poppins soars over, or the vast desert landscapes in the original Star Wars, they all relied on this exact same technique. It had such a long and incredibly impactful run in Hollywood. I just want to pause here for a second because this is just amazing to me. Some of the biggest, most memorable locations in movie history, they weren't even real. They were just beautiful oil paintings carried onto a soundstage by a couple of people and placed carefully in front of a camera. That is the magic and the incredible human ingenuity we're talking about here. So you might be thinking, Okay, that's a cool, charming little piece of film history. But here's the thing. The ghost of this technique, it's still with us. Its DNA, its core logic, is alive and well in the biggest, most advanced blockbusters you'll see today. And this really gets to the heart of it. You know when you see an actor standing in front of a green screen and then later this incredible digital world is added in? Well, that's called a digital matte painting. It is the direct, straight-line descendant of those old hand-painted glass shots. The tool changed, sure, from a paintbrush to a computer stylus, but the fundamental idea, that creative problem solving, it's exactly the same.
And you can see the evolution right here. The old way was physical, paint on glass. It was all done in camera, which meant you had to get it perfect on the day of the shoot. No do-overs. The new way is digital, pixels on a screen. It's done in post-production, which gives you a ton more flexibility to tweak things like the lighting long after filming is done. But look at the core concept. It's still the same thing.
So here's the main takeaway. Whether we're talking about oil paint on glass or pixels on a screen, the basic idea hasn't changed in over 100 years. It really shows you that the ultimate goal of filmmaking is timeless. You're just seamlessly combining a world that an artist dreamed up with an actor's live performance, all to create an illusion that you, the viewer, can completely and totally believe in. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? The whole point of the glass shot was for it to be invisible, to trick you into believing in something impossible. So it really makes you wonder, when we're watching the incredible digital effects of today's movies, what other brilliant, invisible magic is happening right in front of us that we're completely missing?